What did you love when you were a kid? I loved the Minnesota Twins, Saturday Night Live, and for reasons I didn't understand at the time, the annual Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. But I especially loved professional wrestling. My hero, Hulk Hogan, told me to train hard, say my prayers, and eat my vitamins, while Macho Man Randy Savage commanded, snap into a Slim Jim, which now seems like horrible dietary advice. In the days before on-demand content, I remember putting my name on a waiting list at the video store to rent a VHS tape of the very first WrestleMania match featuring the epitome of 1980s machismo, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. I loved the larger-than-life characters. It made sense at the time. But as I grew older, I moved on from childhood interests, and wrestling began to seem absurd. Hulk and his mates were like the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus. They were fake, and so seemed pro wrestling. Fast forward 30 years, the internet and social media have changed the way we view and position ourselves online for professional means, how we shape our personal brand. The whole concept of branding seems absurd. Some would say absurd like professional wrestling. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Wrestling storylines may be as plausible as soap operas or reality television, but the business and athleticism involved are very much real. I've come to appreciate the inner workings of the industry, how wrestlers communicate, cooperate, and execute moves in the ring to entertain thousands each night. Personal branding is professional wrestling, and that's not a bad thing. Here are 3 things it can teach us. 1, be authentic. It's said the wrestlers with the best connection to the audience are those who play themselves with the volume turned up. They are true to themselves. If a wrestler is in a role he can't relate to, the performance is subpar and will flop with the audience. Case in point, Dwayne Johnson started wrestling as the character Rocky Maivia, an all-American good guy who was supposed to be a fan favorite. Instead, the audience grew tired of this forced gimmick and would boo him relentlessly during matches. A change was needed. He had to adopt a persona more true to who he actually was. So he channeled his real-life humor, charisma, intensity to become The Rock. And the rest is box office history. So, who are you trying to be online? Are you representing something not authentic to yourself or your interests? Don't rely on something you don't believe in, because most people will see right through it. Think about what really interests you and align that with what you do online. 2, be a worker. In pro wrestling, the term worker means someone who exhibits a high level of ability, performance, and cooperation inside the ring. A worker knows how to entertain an audience and keep its attention throughout the match. A worker actively seeks out advice from others, puts in the time necessary to improve his craft, and is open to collaboration with his ring partner. So if you don't put in the time to define your brand, or seek out advice, or understand social media platforms that you're on, your ability to authentically connect with others will be diminished. Like the wrestler, if you are ineffective at communicating or just lack the curiosity to grow your skill set, people will not seek you out for advice or collaboration. 3, the rub. This is when a more accomplished wrestler helps an up-and-coming opponent gain momentum and become more popular with the audience by making that person look good during a match, sometimes even letting that person have a victory. The opposite of the rub is to bury an opponent by always making that opponent look weak, by not cooperating with him in the ring, or never letting them have a victory. Do you know people who make it all about them all the time online? These are often the first people we hide in our news feeds, right? Personal branding should be more altruistic than just being fixated on a clout score or the so-called numbers of followers one has. I contend we truly advance ourselves when we sincerely recognize others online and let them flex their muscles a bit. When we give them the rub, when we show others in their best light. So this is what I ask of each of you. Give someone an unexpected recommendation on LinkedIn or a shout out on Twitter tonight for good work or a good talk. If they deserve it, give other people the victory, spotlight their strengths, and that good karma will come back to you, I guarantee it. So what's the moral of this story? Well, you can sometimes reconnect with a childhood pastime, find additional meaning in it, and gain new perspectives. Plus, you always have a good excuse to continue playing with your wrestling toys. And as Minnesota's Ric Flair would say, woo! Thank you. Good night.